Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be looking at anger. We'll be looking at what it is and the misconceptions that people have about it, how misunderstood the emotion is, and what's also behind anger. So let's jump right into it. So we all know that anger is the strong emotion that we feel when we feel as though someone has behaved in an unfair manner, if they've disrespected us in some way. It also comes up if we feel as though we've been attacked, if we've been betrayed or deceived in some way, if we're feeling frustrated or if we've been treated unfairly or our feelings have been invalidated. My definition of anger personally is that anger is like a mask that we put on to mask our emotions and not to feel them. That we're really feeling, and those emotions could be fear, it could be feelings of inadequacy, it could be feelings of shame or even guilt. But the thing is, anger isn't necessarily a bad emotion. Now, most of us, when we think of the word anger, we're like, there's violence, it's punching walls, it's being really rude, it's sadness, all that kind of things, but it's not necessarily all about that. It's not a bad emotion, so I'm here to tell you it's not a bad thing. It's a valid feeling, a valid emotion, but however, it's the way in which we act that can determine outcome. So if we're feeling angry and we feel as though, okay, yeah, I'm going to punch somebody, that has consequences. So we need to be careful of that. So anger can be useful in different ways, though. It can be a useful tool. And the way it can be useful is it can be helpful in helping an individual identify the problems or things that are hurting them. So they're feeling angry, it helps to identify their triggers, find out where it's coming from so that they can sort the problem out. It also motivates us to create change in our lives. So for example, if you want to achieve a certain goal, if you want to change jobs, if we want to go to university, if we want to take this course, if we want to just do something about our lives that's different, anger can help us motivate us to achieve that goal. We might also use in times of injustice. Think about all the Black Lives Matter protests. Think about all the injustice that's going on in the world today. Anger is also a motivator, a tool to help motivate us to make changes within our society for the better. It also helps us to stay safe in times of danger. It helps to defend us, and that also triggers the fight or flight response. So that's also very important. So now we're going to look at how anger, even though it does have its good sides, how it can become problematic. Okay, so we're going to look into that right now. So we all know that anger can be expressed in unhelpful behaviours and can become problematic in terms of a person punching a wall or being violent with somebody. It's having a negative impact on your well-being, such as your mental or physical health. Anger can then become your default emotion, which is used to block out the real emotion that you may be feeling, which may be sadness, shame, or guilt. So rather than sitting down and feeling the sadness that you're feeling, anger then automatically becomes the default emotion. So sadness is here, anger is then here, because you don't want to deal with the sadness of the emotion of sadness. Okay. Again, you haven't developed healthy ways to express your anger. So how we react when we are angry all depends on how well we are able to cope and recognize our feelings and how we have learned to express our feelings. So we're going to look at unhelpful angry behaviors. So I've just mentioned someone punching a wall or even being violent with somebody. So let's see other ways in which it can also become unhelpful. So people express their anger in different ways, and it's not always the same. So there's this thing of outward aggression and violence, and this is, like I mentioned before, shouting, swearing, punching walls, being verbally abusive, and being a threat to other people. So that's outward aggression and violence. So that's point number one. Point number two, is inward aggression. This includes behaviors like neglecting your needs, such as food or doing things that make you feel happy. You also may have self-hate, such as telling yourself that you hate yourself, you don't like yourself for whatever reason, and you may isolate yourself from others, and may engage in acts of self-harm. So number 2 is inward aggression, so that's looking at the self. Then you have non-violent or passive aggression. This may include ignoring people or refusing to speak to them, not doing any tasks. And if you are doing any tasks that you are supposed to do, you're doing them in a poorly manner. You are a little bit passive aggressive, and you may portray aggressive behavior or even get angry. Okay. So all those things contribute to unhelpful, angry behaviors. But even though we may display that, what actually causes our anger? So the feelings of anger may arise when an individual reacts to certain situations. Everybody has their triggers, okay, and what causes them to feel angry. So they may feel threatened or attacked. They may feel irritated or weak. They may feel as though they've been treated unfairly. They may feel as though their possessions has been disrespected. So for example, I may have something that's precious to me, and my sister or my mum may just totally disrespect that. They may break it, or they may just treat it in a way that I'm just like, what are you doing? And it just hurts my feelings. Another cause of anger may be the person feeling as though their feelings are being invalidated, they're not being heard, they're just being brushed off. The thing is, everybody reacts to situations in a different way. So what might be triggering to one person may not be triggering to another person. So how we interpret and how we react in a situation depends on certain aspects in our lives. And this could be childhood and upbringing, past experiences, and current situations. So 3 things again. So finding out what our triggers are as to why we get angry, and whether it is from childhood or our past experiences, this will help us find healthy ways to manage our anger and help to deal with it. So I'm going to briefly just touch on childhood and upbringing, the past experiences, and current situations. So for starters, we're going to look at childhood and upbringing. And this is how, as children, we learn how to deal with anger, how we have been taught to deal with it in a healthy or unhealthy ways, and what we even think about anger. So for one example, an individual may have grown up to think that it's okay, it's normal behavior to express anger in a violent manner because they've seen their parents, be outwardly aggressive and just display behaviors of anger. And they may think it's okay to punch walls, it's okay to hurt somebody because they've not been taught that, there's other healthy ways to deal with their anger. So because of all that, that individual may not know how to process their anger, which isn't their fault, and they may not know how to manage their angry feelings properly. So this may result in the child growing up to have angry outbursts, and that could also happen when they're adults too, and they just get angry. So this could happen when they can't get their own way or they don't like how other people behave. Another example of childhood and upbringing when it comes to anger is that one has been brought up knowing not to complain. So this results in punishment when they do express their anger. And this becomes problematic because then their anger gets suppressed, means pushed down. They're not able to, or not allowed to deal with their anger. And when situations do arise, they feel uncomfortable dealing with it. But the thing is, when you're not able to express your anger, when your anger does become suppressed, it then becomes internalized. So then the anger then turns, you then think of yourself in an angry manner. So the behavior usually is self-criticizing behaviors. So you probably criticize yourself in a negative way. You also have thoughts of self-hate. So you hate yourself for even becoming angry at that time. But the thing is, what people don't realize that prolonged internalized anger can eventually lead to depression, which I mentioned, I think, in a few videos back. And when I mentioned that depression can also be a result of anger, this is what I'm talking about right now. And this is what I mean. The feelings of worthlessness comes in, and this results in self-destructing behaviors such as suicidal behaviors, or even self-destructing behaviors such as like self-harm and behaviors like that. The depression in this instance, though, is a result of anger that is primarily due to anger being directed against the self. Okay, I'm now going to look at past experiences and see how our past experiences, results in anger. Okay, so past experiences can trigger anger. So this could be examples of bullying. This can be experienced during childhood or even adulthood, abuse, trauma. So if a person has experienced these things and not being able to cope or even process that anger at the time of the event, they may be coping with anger from those experiences right now. It is in those times where the anger that is felt is not towards any current situation. Okay, this could be, someone treating your belongings disrespectfully. Your anger isn't directed towards that, but because you've not dealt with your past experiences, your anger from that then gets directed at this current situation. So everything just kind of blows up like a volcano type thing. So this means that the anger is a reflection of a past experience, okay? So then you have current situations. If a person is having to deal with a lot of issues in their life currently, they may feel a lot more angry, or they may get angry at other things that are not related to their current situation. Being in a situation that makes an individual feel angry, but they are unable to express it or deal with it, will find that they may express anger at different times. So there are different types of current situations that may result in anger, and this could be bereavement, divorce, financial circumstances, or even certain illnesses. It's funny because when I was researching up anger for my presentation that I'm currently sharing with you all today, I just never knew all these different things that can contribute to anger. It's so misunderstood. And there's this book that this woman called Carol Tavris, she basically says that anger is not a disease with a single cause. Instead, it is a process, a transaction, a way of communication. So there are some cases where anger is caused by natural abnormalities. However, it is mainly caused by social events. So when they assume meaning only between those who are in social contact. So sometimes for some people, anger doesn't occur unless they're in a social situation. She goes on to say the beliefs that we have of anger and the interpretation that we have of the experience are just as important as trying to understand the emotion itself. And that's such a powerful thing. She says that this is the reason why many people don't realize if they are angry. It may take some family members, friends, or even a therapist to let you know that you are feeling angry. This is why an individual may feel angry and they are unsure as to what they are even angry about, or even why they are angry in the first place, which is crazy. So anger is often, like you mentioned previously before, the secondary emotion, and it's a sort of mask as to what's really going on, as to the primary emotions. Okay, and the primary emotions usually are underneath this mask. So kind of think of an iceberg. So if you see an iceberg, you only see the tip. And the tip that we see right now is anger. We don't necessarily see what goes on underneath at the bottom of the surface level. Underneath the surface level could be are different emotions such as sadness, envy, disgust, depression, anxiety, fear. All those kind of emotions come in. Also hurt, confusion, isolation, embarrassment, all those different emotions that we don't see are usually what's underneath the surface level, but we only see anger and the outburst of that, but we never understand that there are other emotions underneath it that are the main cause of the anger. The anger is sort of the display of the emotion, and that makes sense. So if a person's feeling fearful or if they're feeling embarrassed, their first instinct is to act out in anger or display an angry behavior. So I think that's very important for us to understand and remember. So now I'm going to look at healthy ways in which we can manage our anger. I mean, I know I've been angry before, and maybe many of you have as well. So it's important for us to look at healthy ways in which we can manage it and what we can do about it as well, which is so important for us and our mental health and well-being. So healthy tip number 1 is maybe count down from 10 or maybe count up to 100. So whichever one suits you best. The process of counting helps your heart rate to slow down and your anger will most likely subside. Okay, then we have breathing exercises. So most of the times when we are angry, we breathe very fast and shallow like this. And we can't get enough breath and enough air into our lungs. So instead, maybe try slower breathing. So in through your nose and out through your mouth, exhale. And do this a few times because then you then start to feel calm, a lot more calmer than you would in the beginning, because you're breathing a lot more slower, your heart rate has slowed down, and it's just a nice way to just relax and just to feel calm. Try journaling. I've said in I think it's my first video that journaling is not my thing. I try and I start, but for some people it may be useful for you. Journaling really helps us to sit down and really think about what's going on for us. In this instance of anger, journaling why we are angry will help us to identify the triggers and the real emotions that are behind why we're feeling angry. And these emotions, like I said before, could be feelings of loneliness, embarrassment, guilt, shame, all that kind of emotions. So journaling helps us to identify those, which is so important. Find a really good therapist or a counsellor who will help you with your anger and help you to talk about it, and they'll be able to help you maybe identify your triggers as well, which is amazing. And another thing to do, I know I do whenever I feel angry, I find a creative outlet. So I paint, I draw. If you want, you can paint and draw. Do something different that's creative, and maybe try cooking, baking, maybe try listening to music. Go for a walk. Walking is amazing. In the outdoors, you get in so much fresh air and you feel so much calmer being in nature. Try reading a book. Try listening to classical music. I know I keep raving on about classical music. It's just amazing. It helps you feel calm. For me, it helps me as though I have my life put together, basically. It's just great. Maybe listening to a podcast Just try different things that will help you feel a lot more calmer and will help with your anger. So I hope those tips and I hope this presentation that I've done about anger will help you to understand it a lot more, that any misconceptions, any misunderstandings that you may have of the emotion, you now understand. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you like, share, and continue to look out for more videos from me. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.